using ride-sharing apps like Uber or Lyft. A bill going through the House aims to increase safety during your commute. Good afternoon, I'm Brittany Pieper.
And I'm Jim Wright. Thanks for joining us. The Senate passed the bill 31-1. It now goes to the House. KOMU8's Emma Reckenberg joins us now with the bill's requirements for statewide ride-sharing companies.
Since we were children, our parents told us don't get into strangers' cars. But people are doing it every day through ride-sharing apps. Today I learned how one bill aims to protect passengers in Missouri. Instead of hailing cabs, you'll find many people downloading ride-sharing apps to commute from place to place. A rise in Uber and Lyft's popularity led Representative Kirk Matthews to support a bill increasing regulations for transportation network companies.
They have to maintain personal insurance, but in addition to that, this requires the TNC to maintain $1 million worth of liability insurance whenever there's a rider in the car.
The bill also requires vehicles to pass inspections, a $5,000 annual licensing fee, and company adherence to a non-discrimination policy. Uber currently operates in St. Louis, Kansas City, Springfield, and Columbia. If passed, drivers could operate statewide. With a few clicks on the app, it's easy to call a driver to your exact location. The only problem is you don't know the credentials of the person behind the wheel. Under the bill, criminal and driving background checks would also be required for drivers. Rick's taxi manager Tom Pallas says the bill is only fair.
All I ask is that we have a level playing field, that the city and state enforce any regulations that they impose upon us, upon them.
One Columbia Uber driver says the current Uber-free driving zones are restrictive.
And we are not allowed to take riders to and from the airport. They're really particular about that.
Despite staying in Columbia, Sword says her schedule is booked.
Really busy on the weekends, and especially when students are in town. Do a lot of that during the weekends, but really I get people of all ages, all walks of life. And it's really growing.
If passed, Matthews says Uber estimates an increase of 10,000 jobs in the state.
Each drivers are not employees of these companies. They're independent contractors. So they get to decide when they want to work, if they want to work, and when they don't want to work.
Matthews says he anticipates the bill passing quickly in the House. He says Governor Greitens has already voiced his support of the bill, and if made law, the regulations would go into effect August 28th. In the studio, Emma Reckenberg, KOMU8 News.
A new study presented to the Boone County Commissioners could change the jail's population, reducing the numbers and saving money. KOMU8's Emily Sanderson joins us to explain what that will mean. The study by former Judge Gary Oxenhandler takes a historical look at inmate population and control over the years. Oxenhandler says it's logical to look at who is being housed rather than build a whole new facility. The study works with groups like Columbia Police who influence who goes in and out of the jail. Oxenhandler says his focus is on diverting inmates who aren't a threat to the community to other facilities.
There's lots of ways of dealing with people. They would be under the auspices of adult court services, or in some instances under probation and parole, that we have all sorts of electronic equipment, bracelets and anklets that people can wear. We can keep them from places. We can make sure they stay in places.
Moving forward, Oxenhandler suggests taking on an auditor and consultant to investigate the inmate population. In the studio, Emily Sanderson, KOMU8 News.
Here's what's happening right now. President Trump is hosting the NATO Secretary General. The two just finished a joint news conference where President Trump reversed a previous statement. He once called NATO obsolete and expensive for the U.S., but today the president says NATO is no longer obsolete because it adapted to the threat of terrorism. Also at the news conference, the Secretary General agreed all allied nations need to pay their fair share.
With tense relations with Russia, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson is in Moscow. Hours of discussion today and disagreement on just about everything. NBC's Bill Neely reports.
Well, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson spent 3 hours in discussions with the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov today, and then almost 2 hours with the Russian President Vladimir Putin. And he then spoke at a news conference with Mr. Lavrov, who started off by saying, "It has been a long day." Indeed it has. And the two men really didn't agree on very much. Principally, they did agree that their relationship was at a low point.
There is a low level of trust between our two countries. The world's two foremost nuclear powers cannot have this kind of relationship.
They spent a lot of their time clearly in the discussions talking about Syria. Not much they agreed on, especially not on that chemical weapons attack where the US blames the Syrian regime and the Russians say there's no evidence for that. But according to Rex Tillerson, they discussed the future of President Assad at length.
Our view is that the reign of the Assad family is coming to an end.
Mr. Lavrov saying the US is obsessed with regime change and getting rid of dictators. Well, there have been too many examples of that, hardly any of them positive.
That was NBC's Bill Neely reporting. Despite disagreements on Syria, there was agreement that the U.S.-Russia relationship is at a low point but needs to improve. Embattled White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer is apologizing again for the controversial comments he made about Adolf Hitler yesterday.
Your job as the spokesperson is to help amplify the president's actions and accomplishments. And I think he's had an unbelievable, successful couple weeks. And when you're distracting from that message of accomplishment, and that's your job is to be the exact opposite. On a professional level, it's disappointing because I think I've let the president down.
Speaking Wednesday at a forum in Washington, Spicer called his words inexcusable and a mistake. Critics say the apology is not enough, calling on President Trump to fire Spicer and disavow his comments.
The Fearless Girl statue that took New York City by storm on International Women's Day is now the center of controversy. The sculpture of Wall Street's bronze charging bull, a few feet away, is threatening a lawsuit against the city. The sculpture claims the city violated his legal rights when it allowed the Fearless Girl statue to face the bull without his permission. His lawyers are demanding the Fearless Girl be moved elsewhere. The idea of free college tuition is a hot topic. Now New York is a step closer after Governor Cuomo signed a bill that provides thousands of students free tuition at New York public universities. The bill applies to families earning less than $125,000 a year. Joining Cuomo at the signing was former presidential candidate Hillary Clinton. She said New York is the first of many states.
The aftermath of the United Airlines incident continues, with a Chicago alderman requesting to meet with those involved. Attorneys for the man who was dragged off the overbooked plane have filed an emergency lawsuit. Both representatives of United Airlines and the City Aviation Department have been asked to meet with a committee headed by the alderman. The hearing is scheduled for tomorrow. Starting to warm up a bit, let's send it over to Tori to find out if that will last through the weekend.
Tori, thank you very much. A Columbia church jumps into controversy by offering shelter and assistance.
Also, China's in talks with the U.S. about North Korea's nuclear weapons program. Where Chinese leaders stand on the issue. That's later in the newscast.
And you're taking a live look over the Lake of the Ozarks on this, what day of the week is it, Tori?
Hump Day!
Yes, it is. Hump Day Wednesday. It's 5:08. This is KOMU 8 News, first at 5. Coverage you can count on. Hunt will be outside instead of inside.
It could possibly, yes.
All right, Tori, thanks.
A local church takes steps to help refugees and immigrants. Find out how after the break.
A Columbia church plans to provide food and shelter to immigrants and refugees. KOMU 8's Aaron Reynolds is live at the United Universalist Church with a look at its decision to become a sanctuary.
Church members approved the sanctuary declaration this past Sunday. However, the congregation has been discussing becoming a sanctuary since last February. Reverend Molly Hausch-Gordon says the decision was made in response to some recent policy changes regarding immigration in the United States. Gordon says the church will provide sanctuary for individuals while those at risk of deportation and detention get legal help.
We know from our conversations that there are people who are living in fear in Columbia, and we want those people to know that they're not alone.
There is some legal risk involved. The church and individuals would rely on a policy set forth by the United States Department of Homeland Security that asks law enforcement to avoid special locations such as churches and schools. Reporting live in Columbia, Aaron Reynolds, KOMU 8 News.
News of a peace effort, this one over escalating tensions between the U.S. and North Korea. China's president spoke with Donald Trump on the phone today and told him Beijing is willing to work with the U.S. to end North Korea's nuclear weapons program. The two leaders discussed recent escalations and China's desire for a peaceful solution.
A new investigation by the Associated Press has uncovered nearly 2,000 allegations of sexual abuse involving United Nations peacekeepers around the world. The AP found more than 300 cases involved children, and only a small fraction of the alleged perpetrators ever served jail time. A leaked UN internal report also exposed a child sex ring in Haiti involving 134 Sri Lankan peacekeepers. Despite evidence, no one was jailed for the abuse.
Coming up, a donation by Callaway County EMS could save lives. That's coming up.
Cardiac arrest is one of the leading causes of death. KOMU8's Jessica Porter's in the newsroom to tell us about a potentially life-saving gift.
Callaway County EMS made a life-saving donation to a local parish. The St. Peter Catholic Church and School got an automated external defibrillator, or AED. The device can help someone who is suffering from cardiac arrest by delivering a shock to the heart. School principal Terry Arms says varying ages in the church and school created a need for the device.
We started infants with the school part, and then we've got, elderly parishioners, and heart conditions and heart disease is not something that chooses an age. So we're here. Hopefully this will help in any situation that we would need it.
Arms says over the next few months they'll train anyone in the community on how to use an AED. Reporting live in the newsroom, Jessica Porter, KOMU8 News.
New York City banned trans fat in restaurants, and it might be paying off. According to a new study, there has been a bigger drop in hospitalizations for heart attacks and strokes in the New York areas that had restricted use of trans fat when compared to a drop in hospitalizations in New York counties without those restrictions. The FDA is planning a nationwide restriction on trans fat in 2018. Many people reach for fruit juice as a substitute for fresh fruit, and while some store-bought juices have high amounts of calcium or vitamin C, others contain mostly just high amounts of sugar and calories. Fruit juices also lack the fiber typically found in fresh fruit. Experts say make sure you're buying 100% fruit juice and limit your intake to 8 ounces a day.
A bill that would increase regulations for ride-sharing apps now awaits approval in the Missouri House. KOMU8's Emma Reckenberg joins us here in the studio with this recap.
For Uber, Lyft, and other mobile ride-sharing companies, one bill aims to increase public safety. The bill would require vehicles to pass inspections, background checks for drivers, and liability insurance. The company would also have to adhere to a non-discrimination policy and pay an annual $5,000 licensing fee. Uber currently operates in St. Louis, Kansas City, Springfield, and Columbia, but if passed, drivers could work all around the state. The bill's initial sponsor, Representative Kirk Matthews, says he anticipates it passing in the House this session. In the newsroom, Emma Reckenberg, KOMU8 News.
Here's a look at what we're following for KOMU8 News at 6. Students at Truman State University are trying to get a scheduled speaker canceled. We'll tell you why they don't want him to show up.
Plus, Mid-Missouri third graders aren't letting their age stop them from making a difference for their loved ones. That's coming up at 6 o'clock.
All right, we're going to hang on to clear skies for the rest of your Wednesday evening, but the cloud cover is back with us later on tonight and tomorrow as well. Temperature-wise, if you're heading out and about, things are going to be pretty warm and comfortable back into the middle and upper 60s. That warming trend continues on for the rest of our Easter weekend. We'll have to dodge a few showers, though, throughout Friday and Saturday night.
That's our time for now. Thanks for joining us.
Have a great night.